Hi there. Welcome in this video about a Visual Studio Code extension that I've been creating over the last couple of weeks called Demo Time. It's an extension that makes it easier to do live coding demos. If you ever did the live coding demo, then you know that it can be stressful because you need to know what you're going to do and which keystrokes you're going to type. Sometimes you forget a variable or you have a typo and then all things break live on stage. Some of us have their own approaches, like, for instance, using snippets or using a script that they follow. And these things, they can help you a lot during live coding demos. Now, in my last public speaking engagements, I started talking with an attendee right after my session. He asked me if I ever tried out CodeTour, but I hadn't. I've never tried CodeTour for live demos. I only used CodeTour when I created a sample and wanted to provide the sample to other developers so that they can use it and can get a guide throughout the project to get familiarized with it. So then they know where to add code and how the code works. For that particular use case, the extension is great. But I had to try it out for live demos. So what I did is creating or reusing my project that I used for the last speaking engagement and started creating a tour. And quickly I saw that there was something missing. And one thing that was missing was creating a new file, because this is where my demo started, creating a new file, adding codes. And this next step, the adding code step, is something CodeTour can do, but it's done by an hover panel, and then you need to click on Insert Code. So it's a lot of clicking around before you can actually see the new code inside your file. So that's what I started thinking about, of creating a new extension that allows me to smoothen my live coding demos so that I have to write less, but still be able to use my Visual Studio Code editor to do my coding demos live on stage. So first of all, let me showcase how I was doing my demos previously by using snippets, for instance. So here I am in Visual Studio Code with my Microsoft 365 Playwright demo, which is the demo I used in my last speaking engagement. The first demo I did was authenticating against Microsoft 365 with Playwright. So what I had to do was creating a new file called login.setup.ts. And in there, I needed to play some code. For that, I'm using snippets. And for snippets, I'm using a tool called Paste. So this is the snippet that I want to insert. And this is the whole authentication process. The next step was to add another file, which is the file where I'm going to write my tests in. That's a SharePoint.spec.ts file. And in it comes another snippet. So in this snippet, there is actually a test. And this is a test that I wanted to showcase. So I can write other test cases in here and showcase it live on stage. Now, there's a lot of clicking and using snippets and creating new files, and all of that needs to be scripted. But in order to make it easier for myself, I can script it in an extension and then just play it whenever I want to execute that particular step. And that's where Demo Time comes into play. If you go to the extension panel in Visual Studio Code and type in Demo Time, you will find it. Once installed, go over to the Explorer view. And in my case, I already prepared my demo. So it is in a demo.json file, which is located in the .demo folder. And that's where I can fully script my demo. So if you check to my demo section over here, the first step or the first demo I want to do is actually creating a new file called login.setup.ts. And the content of this file is in a snippet file, which is in the snippets folder. There I will find login.setup. And this is the actual code for the demo that I wanted to insert. Next step is to open the file so that I can showcase it to the end user. pretty cool. So I can do more, like for instance, when I'm talking about showing some parts of the configuration, I can open the configuration file and highlighting some parts of the code. Like for instance, over here, I want to highlight the playwright.config.ts configuration, and on position or line number 62, I want to highlight this line because I want to tell something about it. When I'm creating the new SharePoint tests file, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to insert some content, open it, and then from the moment it's open, I'm going to highlight these particular lines. So from line 21 to 26, I want to highlight this code block. So if you scripted out the whole demo, what you can then do is go over to the demo panel, and that's where you then see your demo JSON file, and you can have multiple files if you want, and you can start running them. So you can either go to presentation mode, which allows you to use a clicker. So if you click on it, it goes step by step. And let's try this out. So if I click on it, and you will see that it automatically says, okay, I'm going to start up the demo. And now it's listening to my clicker. So if I'm going to click on this, it's going to execute the first step. And I can do the same thing again. And then it's going to show the configuration with that specific line highlighted. So if I click on it, it's going to show that configuration file with that specific line highlighted. So I click on it, and you see that line 62 is highlighted. Same thing, click on it again. It's going to open or create the SharePoint.spec.ts file, inserting the code and highlighting that piece of code. Something else what you can do with demo time is executing a terminal command, or you can also use a Visual Studio Code command. So in this case, I want to run my test runner, and by just clicking on run the first test, it's going to execute the npm run test :UI script. And this starts up the Playwright UI, where I can then demo my tests. But demo time can do a lot more than just creating a new file and opening it with content in it. It can also be used in order to insert, replace, delete content that is already in existing files. So for instance, if I'm going to click on my screenshots, it's going to create a new code block right underneath the previous test. So this is just an example of how you can script out your live coding demos, and it will smoothen how you're going to present them. The only thing you need to do is script it, and then during your live coding demos, just run it and explain it to your audience. So less issues with typos and wrong variable names and so on. All you need to do is getting your script right and then clicking on that play button and start talking. So if you're a person that does a lot of live coding demos, please give it a try. Give me some feedback about it and let me know if it fits your needs or where it requires some improvements in order to make it better and easier to use for your live coding demos. So that was it. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye-bye.